Good morning, everybody. I've had a couple of tough acts to follow. So if you'll bear with me, I come from the other end of the spectrum, the receiving end, although we fund our own projects for most part. I'll try and walk you through what we think is an effective impact investment mode. We've been doing this for a while. And we didn't know the term impact investment. I began in 1982 with a plan to make money by growing rice. And I guess just part of my being, I wanted to try and grow under a contract farming scheme that we developed with the poorest people I could find. In those days, the words impact investment didn't exist, or nobody had used them as yet. So we went ahead and did that, and I've had nothing but joy. Lots of stress, lots of problems, like with anything you do, but a huge amount of satisfaction working with the poorest, the true bottom of the pyramid, and watching them come alive over the decades from where they lived in thatched houses to now they own pickup trucks and television units, and the kids go to good schools, relative, but we have had a lot of satisfaction considering that we were part of that journey with them. As I said, we began with the intent to make money, but in the back of our minds, always to work with the poorest people so that we could benefit somebody as we made our own profits. This is where we began. I was actually in a helicopter. I was told later that what I did was very risky. I was actually sitting on the side of the helicopter, hanging out, taking pictures, with no harnesses or anything else. So if the guy had tilted, I wouldn't be here today. So that was the area that we chose. There were no roads. The villages, the only way in was walking, or if you had a very expensive large tractor, you might be able to make it through. This area is very different. If you notice the date, that was taken in 1988. It's highly developed agriculturally. There's still no industry in the area, and every single plot you see there for the last 30 years has been contracted to us under a contract farming scheme. They haven't moved anywhere else. They've been satisfied with what we've been able to provide them. The one thing that I preach is, in order to be impactful, in order to help those that you want to try, whose lives you want to try and improve, if you're a corporation, if you're an investor, you need to make a lot of money. You need to make a lot of money so that you can make the decisions on how to use that money back into the society that you work with. Now, Ernesto talked a little bit earlier about wants and needs. The needs of the investor versus the needs of, or the wants of the investor versus the needs of the target. We have always asked the people, the farmers who work for us, what they'd like to do. We do not try and introduce new production systems, new concepts, unless they want it. We don't try and introduce new crops unless they fully understand and ask for it. So we've always tried to work with what the farmers know and help them, train them with obvious scientific knowledge to help them improve what they already know. And that has paid us off very well. And because of the concept that we use to make sure that our company makes a lot of money, we've been able to do some of these things that you see on the screen there. So we allow them to create the money, which we then partly give back to them. We provide them scholarships, etc. Some of those things that they ask for. Better education for their children. So we ask them, would you like to, we can't give it to everybody, every child in school, but would you like to form a scholarship set that you provide by your choice to the children that you think deserve it? And then we make funds for each village that we work in, and we have 5 governors of the fund. 4 of them are farmers, 1 is from our company, to ensure there's no corruption and there's some accountability. And that has proven very well. We allow the farmers to decide. I should say they allow us to provide them the systems for them to decide for themselves where they put the money. And they have largely been wise. And as Ernesto says, the local knowledge is critical. They're the ones who know their needs the best. And not to work with that, I think, is just asking for trouble. We try, I should say here that everything we do is, all the crops that we grow, all the work that we do is based on organic farming. And we realized very early on that we're not happy with the Monsantos of the world and the poisons that are being put into the ground. And we found that the farmers themselves, there were children being born with defects because of, in those days, walking around with DDT pumps at the backpacks and babies in the front as they sprayed. So we decided very early on that we wanted to do only organic farming free of chemicals. And the side benefit of that is organic food is a lot more expensive than non-organic food. And that, of course, means that we could make higher earnings and pay the farmers a lot more than if they grew non-organic. We developed systems where we told the farmers, and I've said this in an earlier presentation I made also at TBLI a year or so ago. We got the farmers to raise cattle, and we told them that we'd buy the crap. And they said, crazy foreigners, if you want to buy crap, we'll sell you crap. So we got them on we told the children to go out into the fields and collect all the snails that were damaging the crops. We explained all the reasons to them. And with the snails and the animal dung, we fermented the product with molasses and created a very powerful fertilizer, better than chemical fertilizers. And that has been used. And now each of the village has their own production facility that they manage themselves and use. So these are the added benefits that using local knowledge, it wasn't something that we developed. They had used some of these things, but not scientifically collated. So we used that, worked with the universities, produced a product that they already had, but made it into a formulated product that they could use more effectively. And the benefits were enormous. The yields, in some cases, are higher than fields that use chemicals. So we also, the byproducts of everything that we make, all of our industries have zero affluent and zero waste of any sort. It's too long to get into, but the farmers partake in all that process, so they benefit from everything that we do after we take the crop from them and we process it. We produce different products, and all the benefits of that go back to them through the different systems of scholarships and funds that we make. So we've, as a result of the organic farming and contract farming module that we developed over the years, we've been told that it's one of the most effective in the world. We constantly have projects asking us for advice and joint ventures, etc. And I guess the result is shown in that just about every single project that we have is profitable and is impactful. I'll come back to the impact in a slide or two. Our approach is, in anything that we do, that we're very, very conscious that we cannot go to the farmers at the bottom of the pyramid, producers of whatever project that we want to launch. We cannot go to them and tell them to produce a product for which we have no market. So we have to establish around the world a set of clients, blue chip customers in most countries, who are on board with the story we have, the things that we do. And most of these companies around the world, and Whole Foods carries lots of our products, for example. Most of these companies have multiple products that they're able to put on store shelves. So anything within that range, because of what we do and the impact we bring to the bottom of the pyramid, anything that we do, these people are on board with us, almost always. So what we do is when we find a community that has a product that they're good at, nothing that we introduce, that they already grow, and that we know they can improve if they went organic, had a better system of control, and had access to market free of the series of intermediaries that you find in any business before it gets to a store shelf. So we cut all that out, able to give them more money, have a market in place before we commit to the farmers to start producing. What that ensures is that we never are going to leave them out in the cold. Because if they produce something, we need to be sure that we have a market for it. So that's the very critical starting point for everything that we do. We've been able to promote our projects in several countries. In each one of these countries, except for Sierra Leone, we had to close down our operations there because of Ebola. But every single operation that we have in these countries, and we're multiplying every year, has seen complete success. These are some of the new projects that we have in the pipeline. Most of these are projects who have come to us, given us their, and we like Ernesto said, it's important who the people are. So almost always at the first meeting when you meet a guy who tells you, I've got this great project, you look him in the eye, it's like a love affair. You meet a person, you know if you like them or not. That's a starting point, and for me, that's critical. A lot of business schools teach you to stay away from friends and family. I only work with friends. If you can't trust a friend, who the hell are you going to trust? So that's a great starting point for me, and it's paid off. There will always be glitches, but if you have transparency at the start of what you do, and you look at the person and you like the person, it's always people. And what it is that they hope to do, you have the same moral platform. For me and all my partners in my businesses, that's the best starting point. So we can all influence people. We can all change things. Bringing the awareness, again, it's a person-to-person thing. And you guys, for most part, many of you are in the money-giving business. I would tell you, focus on things, you give money to things that help the world. Not just the people, but the earth that we're going to leave behind for our children. My generation has destroyed this world. So I'm very, very conscious of that. I'm involved in several cleanup actions around the world. One of them is the 5 gyres. I don't know if any of you know what those are. There's 5 islands of plastic in our oceans. Each one is about the size of Texas, and nobody knows how deep it goes. There's no marine life in the oceans that is free of plastic chemicals. So I'm involved with about 200 scientists on the West Coast, and we're trying to find a solution for this. And most of the world looks at this as a problem. So I cold called the chairman of MARE, M-A-R-E, you can Google them, one of the premier organizations studying this issue. And I called him up one day out of the blue and I said, John, we're looking at this the wrong way around. You don't know me, I don't know you. I gave him, I can't tell you what the solution is, but when do you get the best ideas in your day? When do you get the best creative thoughts? It's in 3 places, and think about it. Just when you're about to fall asleep, you get a great thought. That's when you want to have a notepad next to your bed. When you're in the shower, and excuse me, but when you're on the toilet. The reason for this, and there's another something if anybody's interested in meditation, there's a system called the Silva method. The creator of this method is called, his name was Jose Silva, he's no longer around. Jose Silva created a scientific approach meditation system called the Silva Mind Control. It teaches you how to get to alpha state. That's just the point where you're in the shower or on the toilet, just about to fall asleep. You go into the alpha state. In the alpha state, you're very protected. The world can't get in there. And that is the most private moment of your day. And therefore, your mind is open to creative thought. And this system teaches you how to capture and stay in that state, besides the point. So I was in the shower when I think I found the solution that might work to clean up the oceans. So I called John, the CEO, the chairman of MARE, and told him who I was, and on trust, never having met him before, gave him the solution, and he said in 10 years of studying the problem, this was the most creative solution he had heard. So the reason for that was I approached the problem not as a problem, but as a resource. There's millions of tons of free plastic out in the oceans with no owner. Now, if you look at it from that point of view, then there's money to be made with the solution. So you rearrange your view and look at how you turn this thing into a profit-making enterprise. So with that approach, we began a small clique of people, including one of the founders of Kickstarter. And we're trying to raise funds for that, to do proof of concept. So the point of that story is in each impact investment that you look at funding, returns is one of your criteria, but I would urge you, because you're the people who can influence projects in the poverty alleviation and impact funding arena, to also always look at what that project, and you can impose conditions that there must be a fallout of improvement to the earth. It's not difficult. It's as simple as, will you agree that if we fund you, that you don't use plastic bottles in your office? Little things, but they all help. So here are some pictures of some of the things we do. This is our organic rice project in the north of Thailand in the Golden Triangle. We discovered that there's a lot of gluten-intolerant people in the world. And we had the raw materials. One of the byproducts of rice is broken rice, which normally goes to animal feed or makes rice flour. We made it into gluten-free pasta and noodles and trebled the value of the product. We're the first people to introduce chia and still the only producers of chia seeds. I'm sure many of you know what that is. In the north of Thailand, we're the only producers in Asia and have been successful in increasing the incomes of the hill tribes, which are basically a forgotten community in the north of Thailand. We entered into the coconut farming not because of the farmers, but because of pretty much the slave labor that is employed to climb the trees to pick the coconuts. These are illegal immigrants who live in a very terrible life. So our entire project is based on improving the lives of the people who climb the trees to get the coconuts. So we're able to give them a better return, build dormitories, make schools, etc. for them. This is a very exciting project, first of its kind in the world. This was created and is run by the children of the YPO organization that I chair. Children of very wealthy people who came to launch and develop this project, and have more than half of them have chosen to stay on permanently to operate it. I would encourage you guys to take a look at the website. It's called hilltribeorganics.com. It's a project that we began to help the hill tribes, the people you see there. They used to grow opium in the Golden Triangle for the warlords. These people don't have ID cards. They're not a part of the Thai society, and they're what we call the forgotten people. Their income levels are extremely low. With this project, we were able to treble their incomes within 1 year. We have a complete cyclical project. We get them to grow the crops that become feed for the chicken. They have a $0 outlay. They put out no money. We raise the chicken until they're ready to lay eggs, and then we give the chickens to the farmers, and we buy back the eggs every day. And all the Michelin star restaurants, all the top hotels in Thailand, everybody's on board. They all buy it at almost 3 times the price of a regular egg. So we, in some cases, have even quadrupled the incomes. What that means is these people no longer have to fly to Libya to get a construction worker's job, but can stay home and take care of their families. This is our Sierra Leone project, which unfortunately we've had to close down because of Ebola. And we're now trying to find out how we can help with the Ebola. That's another story. As I said earlier on, I didn't know what impact funding was. We just did it because we thought it was the right thing to do. And we've been doing it for over 3 decades. About a year ago, a year and a half ago, we were approached by an impact fund, and we've taken our first. It was always funded with my own funds until a year ago. And we had one impact fund come in, and another impact fund, which is in our group here, is about to join us, and a couple of others are in discussion with us. And in all of these cases, the impact funds have come to us. And we find it a bit difficult. We're not used to having to report to other people. But we do see that with added external funding, our own growth, the breadth of our growth, and the speed at which we can develop new projects is better. So I'd be happy to talk to anybody. We do have several projects. Most of them, as I said, are self-funded or funded by fellow WPOs who have deep pockets. And but we welcome, if you have any ideas, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you.